What's going on, tubes? This is my I picked this up for free. This is my Craftsman II LT4000 lawn tractor. It's got an overhead valve 12.5 horsepower Tecumseh engine. It's a 1992 machine. Right here's the date code, 6192, under the Bush administration, #1. The engine, it is the same power overhead valve and type of engine that was originally on this machine, except this is a 1998 engine. It says it right here, if you can see the date code, 8211D. That's the 211th day of 1998. So the previous owner evidently had the original engine removed, and I guess probably something went wrong with it, and they had this one installed. The nice thing about this one, it has a recoil start for backup. Runs excellent, clean. The oil was clean in it when I got it, and to the fill mark. There was no fuel in the fuel system. Air filter was spotless. I just had to fix the recoil. The spring head came unseated in there, but otherwise the engine was pretty much good to go. Things that I had to do to this machine to get it going. I had to change the ignition key switch. That was bad. The brake was locked up. It was frozen, rusted solid. So I had to take the brake off, let it sit in a oily WD-40 mixture for 2 days, and I got the dowel pins to free up, and the 2 bolts that bolt the brake mechanism to the transmission were also rusted frozen on there, and they snapped when I went to go remove the brake. So I was able to get one out with a vice grip. The other one would not come out, and it snapped all the way to the end, and I had to get it out with an easy out and then re-thread it, and then I was able to put the brake back on, and that was it. That freed it up. The 2 guide pulleys were frozen, so I had to pull those off, hit them with oil and WD-40, free up the bearings. I got them unfrozen. One of the guide pulleys on the deck was frozen. I had to do the same thing. The mandrels, both mandrels were rusted frozen, so I had to knock them free with a mallet and then hit them with oil and WD-40. The deck belt was shot, so I changed it. Both belts were frozen onto here, like they were frozen glued to the pulleys, so I had to take them off. And once I got the belts off and I got the brake unfrozen, the machine was free, because when I first got it, the back wheels were locked up like it was in gear, even in neutral. It seemed like it was like in gear, but it wasn't. So that was the situation there. I did reuse the original drive belt that it came with. However, I am going to change that, because I noticed when I'm using the machine, it occasionally will hesitate because that drive belt is worn. So that's coming. What else did I do to this thing? Resprayed the entire deck. It had rust underneath, resprayed it. It was pretty rusty. There was only one really bad spot that had 2 pinholes. Fixed those, put JB Weld on it, spray paint, put paint over it, painted it with Rust-Oleum. Good to go. Tires hold air, no problem. Seat was in pretty good shape. It had 2 areas with small cracking, so I just put Gorilla Tape on that. That fixed that. This machine did come with its bagger. Got that as well. Sitting right over here. It's a 38-inch, 5-speed. It didn't have its bins, but I got both the bins for 30 bucks. Everything else it came with, the rest of it. The lower chute had a small split in it, so I repaired that with Gorilla Tape, no problem. Bagger system's great. And these machines, they take a mulching kit as well, so I'm gonna eventually get the mulching kit for it. That'll be good to have. I put these rear reflectors on, put the flags on, cleaned the machine, painted a few areas in the black that had some minor rust with Rust-Oleum. Overall, it was still solid. Back of the seat had some rust, painted that nice and clean. The original battery was dead, but luckily I had a replacement spare, so that was good to go. It's got, you know, it's a good case covered in there, you know, protected. So I got this machine for free, and the repairs only ran me about 50 bucks total. Then I spent 40 bucks for a cover because I don't have anywhere to store it right now. So I got a good cover for it to store it out in my backyard. What else is there to say? Good tires, powerful engine. You know, I'm also going to change this fuel filter because it was the original, so that's going to be changed. I added the fuel shutoff valve. This is a 98 engine, so this is a non-adjustable carburetor, but it's fine. The carburetor was spotless inside. I opened it. It had a little bit of moisture just from sitting for so long, but otherwise it was good. It was clean. Like I said, the fuel system was bone dry, so I was good there. A lot of the pulleys were rusty, and I had to hit them with a brass wire brush. I did notice that since I did put a new belt on, and it does appear that the new belt is getting worn down, at least at first, from these rusted pulleys, so I might need to get another drive belt. Other than that, I mean mower deck belt, because it looks like this new belt of mine got worn. Because at first, when I went to engage the deck after repairing it, you know, it took a few 30 seconds to get started, and there was rust powder all over it on the deck. And then after a couple minutes, that cleared up, so that should be okay. Before I put the deck on it, this thing did a wheelie. You know, I was in 5th gear. I couldn't believe it. I just put it in 5th gear, let the brake off, and the thing went up a foot in the air. I try not to do that often because it's not good for the transmission, obviously. But yeah, these LT4000s were some of Craftsman's best tractors that they ever built. I mean, you go to Home Depot now and you see the stuff they're making, it's real cheap. Flimsy plastic, I mean, it's unreal. This thing is solid. It really is, you know, it's tight. What else? It was missing its LT4000 sticker, so I just put that Sears Craftsman sticker on. It did have its headlight guard, although it did have a small crack in it, and I had a spare, so I put the spare on. No cracks at all. What else? You know, oh yeah, after sitting for so long, I had it for 3 years and I didn't mess with it. So I had to take a mallet to the thing down below, the base to where the handle goes, to free up the transmission. But it was, you know, once I got that moving again, that was fine. But yeah, it's got the bagger, and like I said, under 100 bucks with the cover. And like I said, it's a 92. It's got the Tecumseh 12.5 horsepower overhead valve engine, 98 engine. You know, the machine is 25 years old, the engine is 19 years old, and all right, let's hear it purr. I already ran it, so it's not a cold start, but good to have that recoil as backup. Good to have that. There you go, folks. A 1992 Sears Craftsman LT4000. Free. In mint condition. They don't make them like that anymore. Later, tubes.